Coming up on One Central Florida. Meet some folks in Sanford who don't run from reptiles. They embrace them. Then Henry DeLand came to Central Florida in 1876 with a vision, and it's still alive in the town named after him. Also, this Orlando brewery is like no other in the state. And the African American Museum in Leesburg helps tell the story of the struggle for racial equality in Central Florida. All that and more on this edition of One Central Florida.
While many Floridians steer clear of reptiles, the passionate handlers at the Central Florida Zoo and Botanical Gardens embrace them.
It's a beautiful snake. You'll get to take a look at how rough those scales actually are. I'm Kevin Koff. I work here at Central Florida Zoo. I'm the senior ectotherm keeper. You know, my mom would bring me down to the creek, catch turtles and stuff like that. And, you know, pretty soon I got that nickname Swamp Boy in high school. Instead of wanting to play basketball and football, I was out in the swamps catching turtles and frogs and studying them and learning about them.
I love reptiles. They're one of my favorite species. Snakes, alligators, turtles, lizards, they're all really cool and love talking about them. My neighbor used to have a snake, and my parents used to crack up when I'd say, I want to go play with my neighbor's snake. I guess that's not normal. Once you hold a snake and you get over that, it's a really cool animal to interact with.
The role of the Central Florida Zoo staff goes beyond cleaning cages.
You're gonna have to move over, buddy. Male lizard's so lazy. We have the blue caiman iguanas, only 58 in the country. Breeding these guys is a priority. This is the normal color you'll see a blue rock iguana, if you were lucky enough to see one in the Cayman Islands.
What we want to do at the zoo is help to educate our guests about exotic or endangered animals or native animals and how they can help play a role in conservation.
Ingesting their prey when they bite it.
What I have here is an eastern indigo snake. This snake is found right here in Florida, but they are a threatened species. Their population needs our help. We actually operate an off-site conservation center where we're breeding indigo snakes and re-releasing them out into the wild.
Just use that tongue the same way a snake would, to smell. We're working with crocodile monitors. We're trying to breed those right now. They're boreal. Boreal means found only up in the trees. They rarely come down to the ground. They use this wonderfully long tail. They'll actually wrap it around stuff and hold on as a fifth leg. They're a really cool creature. It's great to be able to actually work this close with these guys.
While crocodilians are not a species to mess with, Andrew, a reptile handler, doesn't mind sharing lunch with crocodiles.
When you guys do take a look at this guy, you'll notice he has a long, pointy nose, whereas alligators have a broad snout. And that all has to do with what they eat. Come and get it. Come and get it. You hear that jaw pop? Crocodilians actually have the strongest jaws in the entire animal kingdom. Very, very powerful.
So you're here to watch the Venom Show. Any guesses?
The zoo's daily Venom Show is a chance for visitors to see deadly reptiles slither and for the handlers to share facts about these valuable critters.
These here are found right here in Central Florida. This is the largest rattlesnake species in the United States.
Venom is at the leading edge of medical science. I bring this up with copperheads. Their venom is actually being used to treat breast cancer.
Feed them rats that we get.
The reptile-crazy staff at the Central Florida Zoo sees each workday as a chance to help their beloved species.
We reward them with a little snack. At the end of the day, I feel great when I get that message out and I feel like I've hit someone. Someone sticks around after an educational show for a little while and they talk to me for 30 minutes, you know you got them.
It's really great to see people actually be inspired, to hear them say, I've never heard of this animal, that's really cool.
We want to save these animals, we want to protect them. We want you guys to want to do that too.
It's an animal that doesn't look like you. Animals that we find creepy, they're not creepy. They do serve a purpose and we need them.
It's my own DeLand. It's nice and quiet, and all my family's here. And so I grew up here as a kid when all the roads were dirt roads. And
there's history in every corner of town. Every building you look at's got plaques on it when it was built in the 1880s or 1870s. And it's amazing to see some of these stores now that you look at a store that's a donut shop and it was a grocery store 100 years ago.
The small town of DeLand lies in the western reaches of Volusia County. The first settlers arrived in the 1840s and called the area Persimmon Hollow for all the wild persimmon trees that were growing there. The quiet settlement became a town as a result of a visit from a certain northerner in 1876.
Henry DeLand is the baking soda king, has made a fortune in baking soda, and he falls in love with the area and begins buying land and planting trees, but also building buildings. Some of the original buildings that Henry DeLand built in the 1880s are still standing in downtown DeLand.
DeLand had promised to use his fortune for the betterment of mankind and sold the settlers on a vision of creating a town based on culture and education. Out of gratitude, they voted to name the town after him. In 1883, he established DeLand Academy, Florida's first private college. Things were going well. Then came the devastating citrus freeze of 1885.
People lost their farms, their groves, and DeLand had guaranteed the notes, basically, co-signed, if you will, and he went broke. And so he lived here only a few years, only 2 or 3 years, and then went back up to New York.
Before he left, DeLand entrusted the academy to his friend John Stetson, a wealthy hat manufacturer from Philadelphia. In 1889, it was renamed Stetson University. It became, and still is, the lifeblood of the town.
I think DeLand would have kind of withered and maybe remained a little crossroads, but clearly it's the university that's made DeLand what it is today.
Like many towns in Florida, DeLand experienced a land boom in the early 20s. The majestic Athens Theater, built in 1922, still stands as a testament to that era. But then came the Great Depression. The downtown fell into disrepair and remained that way through the late 90s, until a California urban designer and author took an interest.
Michael Earth comes in and begins buying up large numbers of these buildings and began rehabbing them and created what has become one of the state's largest art districts, an amazing thing.
I love downtown. It's just full of culture and good food, and it's quaint and it's quiet. I like that.
DeLand never really had the highway system that other cities had, like Ocala, and so it didn't see the growth that other cities saw. In many ways, that's a good thing. It's kind of been preserved. The downtown is developed. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens to DeLand in the coming years.
It's a special little town. It doesn't grow that much. You got a lot of mom and pop stores downtown. It's just people that was raised here. It's just a quiet community to live in.
Coming up on One Central Florida. What makes Orlando Brewing Spear so special? Also, African American history in Central Florida comes alive at a museum in Leesburg.
Michaela Nichols seemed to have a great life. Signed to a modeling contract at 14, most would think she was living the dream. But her life was only pretty on the outside.
I was bullied as a kid when I had to start eating differently, and kids didn't like that, so they'd throw food at me, they'd say horrible words, and they really made me feel like an outcast, and I didn't like that, and I felt alone, and it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life, but I've overcome it.
Now a student at UCF, Michaela is speaking out against bullying. She's a national spokesperson for the No Bull anti-bullying campaign.
My name is Michaela Nichols. I'm so excited to be your new national ambassador for No Bull.
And has written a book about her experiences with bullying.
I decided to get involved because I wanted to make a change. I wanted to be a positive role model for young men, women, even adults who need someone to look up to, need someone to relate to.
Michaela says bullying also exists on college campuses and even into adulthood. Her advice for someone that's being bullied?
Go stand up for yourself. You are so strong and so independent, and you just have to realize it, and no one can tell you to be different because you're great just the way you are.
Michaela Nichols, one to know in Central Florida. Beer. We can't seem to get enough. To the tune of 6.3 billion gallons a year. There are over 150 breweries in Florida alone, but only one is certified organic by the United States Department of Agriculture. Orlando Brewing.
Being an organic brewery just means that we use organic ingredients. They're made without the use of pesticides, they're made without the use of petroleum-based fertilizers and those types of things we don't want in our food.
Making beer that's certified organic is no cheap task.
We pay twice as much for our organic malted barley. We pay 4 to 5 times as much for our organic hops that other people don't have to pay when they're not using organic products. That doesn't mean that their beers are any less than what we make. However, people do not buy organic beer because it's organic beer. They buy the beer because it tastes good. When I first started homebrewing back in the 70s, early 80s, there were 26 styles of beer. Now you have over 90 different styles of beer. Some of the categories didn't exist.
John makes sure that Orlando Brewing keeps up with the ever-evolving tastes of craft beer enthusiasts. The company started with 6 beers. Now they offer 33 organic brews. They also use many locally sourced organic ingredients.
We do a Uncle Matt's Grapefruit Pale Ale. Well, we get the organic grapefruit from Uncle Matt over in Claremont. The Chocolate Mint Girl Stout, the mint comes from us locally. Most of the ingredients that we use other than the malted barley and the hops are coming from local farms and local organic suppliers.
The team also feel it's their duty to educate the community about organic beer and the many beer styles available.
Us being organic, we're unique. We do things a little bit differently here. So a lot of questions about that. I always get funny questions like, so there's no calories in this beer because it's organic? And it's like, sure, yeah, totally.
People need to understand. The more they understand about the different styles, the different beers, somebody doesn't like beer, it's because they've never had a good one. There are so many different varieties of beers that are available, so many different flavors of beers that are available, that it's an adventure.
Like many brewers, Orlando Brewing recycles its spent grains.
We provide all of our spent grains to livestock around the state of Florida who wish to maintain an organic certification.
Ben Walter runs Hermitage Farm in DeLand.
It's a real high protein, real high fiber, valuable product. It can be fed to almost any animal, as part of their ration. And it cuts my feed bill down hundreds of dollars a month easily.
For Orlando Brewing, organic is just one part of their larger mission.
We do a lot. We give away a lot of beer for events. We give away a lot of tours and tastings and things like that because we know that we're a part of the community and we have the ability to do things that nobody else can do. Now that there are more breweries in the area, maybe we'll slack off a little, but I really doubt it.
The idea of the Leesburg African American Museum came from the thought of preserving the history of Leesburg and Lake County and the struggle of African Americans within our county, and make sure that the younger generation knew the struggles and the past history and the successes of the African American community and the contributions to the city of Leesburg.
To grow up in Leesburg under the times in which we grew up in the 40s and 50s here in Leesburg, it was nothing as it is today. We in turn had to always go to segregated schools, always made sure that we in turn stayed in our places, so to speak.
Everything was segregated and the schools were very much segregated. I was an athlete. I played football, baseball, basketball. You did not play any white kids. You didn't even go to the games.
Segregated stores. In some stores, you know, you had water fountains for white and water fountains for colored.
Well, growing up here, heard about the Ku Klux Klan walking down East Street, walking down Main Street, African Americans not being able to walk on Main Street.
The Klan would come around and threaten you to not to vote if you were registered. And they go all the way through the black community, down past the school, and they had their hoods on.
There was a job place on the East End, what was a truck place down there, where the large trucks would come, semis. And of course, this was a white establishment, but they would always hire young black boys to come and wash dishes, sweep the floor, carry the trash out, clean the windows and things of that nature. I, in turn, made the mistake of cleaning all the windows and the doors and coming back in the front door. And the proprietor, of course, called me all kinds of names and told me that I would never come back in the front door of that establishment again. Well, I thought it was ironic at that time that here I am cleaning the doors, but yet I can't come in the front door.
And talking to a lot of people who grew up in Leesburg, much older than myself, they talked about the history of Mike Street and the commerce here for the black community in years past.
If you lived on Mike Street at that time, you were considered a stable family.
We really had a popular area here on Mike Street. There's the barber shop, the funeral home, the Mason Lodge and all, the rooming house. We had everything contained in this area. Everything that pertained to black people was in this area.
I think the museum is important here because our descendants need to know what our race went through to get us to where we are now. We got a black president. That was unheard of, you know, back in my day.
When they tell me that African Americans couldn't walk down Main Street, or if a white person walked down, you have to get off the sidewalk. For me, for a lot of young people, that's unheard of, unimaginable. And now we have a bronze statue of an African American lady reading a book to her grandchild, sits on Main Street of Leesburg, Florida. So that history is a prominent statement that, you know, there's differences being made in our city. And I think that's my goal, is to make sure people are taking advantage of the many opportunities that are afforded to them.
I want the museum to celebrate our survivorship, our thriving. Every person that cleaned a house, that watched somebody's babies, that did somebody's laundry. These are the people that were sort of the glue of the community, and those are the people that we want to honor as well as the ones that went on to do greater things. All of us are a part of it, and each one of us needs to be celebrated.